Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're thrilled to have you here for our Building a Structured $10 Million Pipeline live event. For those who don't know me, I'm Emily Heitman, the campaign manager here at Measurable Impact, and I'll be co-hosting today with Sandeep Joshi, our director.
Which is very different because generally I'm the one who starts all these intros and I kick things off. But today we've got Emily, so thank you.
Of course.
So for those of you who don't know who I am or what we do, so I'm Sandeep. I'm the chief strategist at Measurable Impact. We are a tech B2B marketing agency. So we have predominantly, I don't think we can do anything any other industry. Tech is wild and wide enough for us to try to get as much knowledge as possible in that frame. This is why we are having this live event, because over the years we have seen quite a few things that we feel could add a lot of value to all small, medium, large, any kind of tech companies on how they want to grow their business and adding a program versus a campaign. So structure versus ad hoc. That's the kind of initiative that we're going to be going through today.
Yeah, beautiful. And Sandeep as well, do you want to go a little bit into what we'll be doing in this series? Because there is a part 2 as well.
Yeah, that's right. So look, to be honest with you, this entire program, the initiative started about 6, 8, 9 months ago when we said, look, you keep saying that you need structure versus ad hoc. Obviously, we all get the thought process, but is there a formula here, or is there a program? Obviously, there is no such thing as one fit all sort of a program, but this 10 million pipeline program is designed for companies that want to have a starting point and say, right, what does that really mean? How can I build it? What are the foundations? And then how do you structure it and take it to market? So overall, it takes good 3, 4, 5, even 6 weeks to build this program for each tech companies that we generally work with. We build it into a structure that helps them create that simple buyer journey, but at the same time, how to then start looking at that 10 million pipeline program. Like, how do you start generating leads? And again, I don't want to say leads. That's the one word I try to keep away from, relationships, because that's what it's tech B2B is all about. So we're going to talk about part 1, the foundation today, what that foundation means and how you can actually build that foundation first. And then part 2, we probably are going to talk about the execution. In fact, we might have a slide there. Nat, if you don't mind bringing slide number 5. We will try not to do this death by PowerPoint, but today the part 1 is going to be about how do you create that baselines. And then part 2, which is probably going to happen in another 4 weeks. If you are keen to know more about part 2, if you like what you hear on part 1, feel free to send us a quick note and we'll add you to the invitation.
Yeah, lovely. And you can just leave a comment in the chat as well if you have any questions or if there's anything that you want to get answered in the next one. But that kind of leads into my first question for you, Sandeep, if you don't mind getting started. So what does the current tech landscape look like?
See, that's a good question. The reason is tech landscape is a different beast in its own way, right? Because it's very different to any other B2B sector. I think if you bring up slide number 2 and probably just pop it for 15 seconds. There we go. So look, generally what happens is in tech B2B, you will notice that the buyers that we're going for are highly technical, they're highly knowledgeable, and they need, and even for you to market to them, you need deep understanding in the industry, right? So obviously you know what you're doing, and that's why you're trying to go and send or try to interact with these buyers. The biggest challenge, though, is that the longer the sales cycle, as you can imagine, a lot of these, or probably 80-90% of these, if you're going into the B2B space, you're talking about north of 100K or probably even up to million above sort of solutions, depending on the total lifetime value of a client. You're building relationships with that organization. You might start with one particular buying center or buyer center and then start, sort of land and expand thought process. But all in all, the sales cycles are stupendously long. Sometimes they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, probably a year, and probably more, depends on what, where, how, and what are you selling to who. So a lot of times it's not about lead generation. Lead generation sounds like a very poor terminology that we have been using in tech B2B. If you want to sell something to multiple buyers, because you're not selling to one person, you're selling to multiple people, because not one person makes the decision. Maybe that one person might sign it at the end, but you need to have the entire buying committee influenced. They could be in the CTO line of business, they could be in COO, operations, management, actual users, and they all need to be sort of interacted with differently. And that's the key reason why tech B2B becomes a different beast altogether. And the biggest challenge is all these tech companies, most of them have various different practices, and each practice might be leading with different alliance partners or vendors that they work with. And each vendor might also assist these partners in trying to get obviously the ball rolling and try to do co-marketing or MDF funds that come along. Over the years, what has happened is that has led to a very ad hoc thought process. In my opinion, MDF are an awesome add-ons, but if you have the baseline foundation done properly, it just fits so perfectly into your overall overarching strategy that it makes life very easy. So I feel understanding that tech market and who your sort of tech buyers or tech companies that you're trying to work with is absolutely critical. And again, I know I'm trying to fit a lot of things. Emily, you will have to do your best to control my
Okay.
my talk time, but I might end up talking too fast. So slow me down if you think I'm going too crazy here.
I will, don't worry. Well, that kind of leads into my second question too. It's a good cue. What are the key foundations that are needed for a B2B tech company to drive that exponential growth?
Right. So what we do is, and I'm going to try and use the least marketing jargon here,
Mhm.
because a lot of times the people that we deal with are in sales and in leadership roles, and the last thing they want is someone just throwing hundreds of marketing jargons at them just to make it sound more legit. It doesn't work. But look, let me give you a simple analogy. If you pop slide number 3 for me, Nat, just for a couple of seconds. So let's have a look at an analogy that your business, why is a structured program needed? Let's look at this as a shopping center. If you design your business as a shopping center, you have various practices, you have various solutions, you have got various entry points to that shopping center. So people can interact with your brand from various different angles. Um, Different buyers for different products too. So you're selling tech, you're selling groceries, you're selling fashion, you're selling clothesline, you're selling shoes, you're selling everything in between. So each and every person that walks into that store, which let's assume it's your business, they have various way to communicate, and different types of individuals have different wants and what they want to get out, and their buying behaviors, their different personalities and everything. Now, when we talk about a foundation, that's probably, if you want to bring that slide back up, what happens is it becomes a massive exercise if you look at it from a holistic perspective, because it becomes quite you know uh, quite you know uh, confusing, because there's so much going on. So our job is to sit down with the business and actually simplify each and every journey together. We say, look, if you want to, why do you think you need a structured program? Is because you need to be able to sell a particular solution to a particular buying group for a particular need. And you need to be able to do that in a way that you need to have the foundations ready to do that.
Mm.
And that foundations is what we're going to be discussing today. Um, Again, I hope I'm able to keep on time, but if you look at slide number 4, what we do is, and this is the analogy that works the best. This is an empty shopping center, no customers, no nothing. A lot of times we want to build the foundational elements of an organization, very similar to what you're seeing on this slide. You want to have the infrastructure, obviously, so you need to have the right tech stack. The tech stack should be all about, right, how are people coming into the shop? Let's say that could be from various different angles. It could be through your website, it could be through offline tactics, it could be events, it could be social campaigns, it could be nurture campaigns, it could be tele, it could be n number of things. How are they interacting with your shop?
Mm.
Um, how are you capturing their journey on your with your brand? Um, what sort of a store do you want to be, firstly, right? So let's start, go back to the basics, saying what kind of a store you are, what kind of audience do you want to attract to your store? Are you a dollar store that is selling anything and everything at a dollar price, or you are a high-end store that has got, various brand elements? What is it? What are you trying to do? And this question keeps arising, and they think, right, this is a part of our vision and mission statement, and we can do this. But in my opinion, that should be done almost on a start of every year, or your calendar year or financial year, however you measure your results. At the start of every year, you need to able to go and look at that drawing board, saying, right, last year I was a tech B2B marketing agency. What has changed in the last 1 year? Am I still doing the same thing? Am I still making sense? Am I still relevant? Has any technological advancements changed the way I did? Chat GPT changed a lot of things for a lot of people. They've changed their solutions, they changed their vision mission statement, they're doing different things. um, has been any demographic change? Has there been sociographic change? Has there been any market changes, political changes? Has there been anything that has changed the way I want to be known into the marketplace? Anything other than, in our case, tech B2B marketing agency, right? If that's not the case, that you need to be able to absolutely be sure about it. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in the slide. But again, I'll slow down because I'll go on a rant. The foundational elements are four key elements. One is, if you want to bring up that slide number 5 again, please, Nat. Um, the foundational elements are, initially you need to define your goals. And defining your goals is not just about your business goals. This defining your goals has to be a sales and a marketing driven, absolutely close knit um, sessions, where you're saying, right, I am still who I am. This is how I want to be known for into the marketplace. I also know that I want to be able to go after a specific audience. um, I also want to make sure that my audience, I'm very closely aligned with. I know who they are, what they want, what are the challenges, and I want to spend a little bit time on that. And finally, I know what I'm going to say to them. That baselines along with the right tech stack. So we use HubSpot for the same reason, not just because it's very cost effective and it's got everything included, but it's also very intuitive. It's very simple to use, and we can build these tech stacks that all the entry points to your business can easily be covered. You can start tracking everyone, and it becomes such an easy journey for all our tech companies. Most of them are already on HubSpot, which is awesome, but it's not like we get paid for it. We are happy with any marketing automation that you guys use, but that marketing automation has to be robust enough to be able to plug and play and able to deliver those right insights for you and your sales teams or the SDRs to be able to have the right timely follow-ups.
Mm, exactly. And I really do preach that as well, making sure that we've got that great message and have that clarity on our vision. And that kind of goes into my next point. So, when you're looking at where a typical tech company can get started, do you have a frame for that?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is where it all gets fun. So what we generally do is, every client that we work with, we don't do it just in, again, no pun intended, no just ad hoc teams, very structured meetings where we sit with the leadership team and the sales team and the pre-sales delivery. Everyone gets involved in these workshops, where we sit down with them, and it's a 4-stage workshop over a period of 3, 4, 6 weeks, where we talk to them about very foundational stuff. So, Nat, if you want to bring out slide number 6, maybe I can talk a little bit to it, and maybe keep this on for a little bit because I might explain this part. So, a lot of times people think, well, look, brand, it's great. We have a decent website, and we are happy with it, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. The problem is we don't define that as a brand, right? A brand is not what you say it is. Brand is what they say it is. Brand is what your customers think you are, and not what you think you are. So a lot of times it all percolates down to what is the reason for you to exist. And sometimes these questions come across very foundational, as in very elementary or very basic, maybe that's probably the better word. And we are all we start using analogies, and we do this, draw it down on a whiteboard session or a proper session where we ask those bunch of questions to make sure that you are still who you are and what you stand for is absolutely spot on. So the first important workshop that we run is sales, marketing, pre-sales, delivery, finance, customer service, everyone together, and try to build this brand, what they think, what their clients think. We also sometimes interview end customers of our clients to see if they are in the same line and what it is. We are not trying to run a massive branding exercise. If obviously there needs to be a reason for them to do it, then of course we do it. But generally, we try to keep things simple. If we are happy of what, again using the shop analogy, if this is the store that we want to be, then we need to then go back to the next stage and identify um, who you are, what you say, how you say it, and to who you say it. Why they should listen to you, right? A lot of times, this is where, and that's why it's the voice part is the big orange bit in between, because that's probably the most important part. All these little dots that you see, there are about 28 touch points here, and this is not me, Jay McBain, or all these big guys who have been giving us reports have been talking about this for quite a few months now. The first time someone interacts with you ever through any kind of moments of interaction until they become your customer, which is the third circle, they would have had at least 20 to 30, maybe even more these days, 40 plus interactions with you. Um, the first few, until it goes to the orange bit, sit within marketing, and after that, until it becomes a customer, sit with sales. But those interactions need to be done in such an embedded way that sales and marketing need to almost be one unit. Otherwise, the transition doesn't take place. The follow-ups, the mechanisms of how the client has been interacted with or has been treated along the journey has to be so seamless. And that's why a good tech stack becomes a very big voice, right? So ideally, what we generally like to do, again, the second workshop that we run is along this whole line, is to find your voice. We try to look at, say, what are the top 2 or 3 solutions, 4 solutions, 5 solutions, however many ever, that bring in 80% of your audience. That 80-20 rule kind of sort of works on. You might have 10, 15, 20 different practices doing everything and everything. You do AI, security, technology, in terms of infrastructure, whatever you do. But there might be something in between that you really are strong at, and that brings up 80% of your business. What does that look like? And we generally try to, build on that first. Um, the most important part over here, again, Emily, is to make sure that that voice personifies that into a customer voice, and that's how they want, and that's where the challenge statements come in. And again, I can talk a little bit more in the next slides. Geez, my long-winded answers. You got to stop me, man.
No, I was interested. I had to listen. I
I
was going to. It kind of works with a question I had previously, and we went over it briefly. I was just wondering, why is having a structured marketing program so crucial for success?
well, this is the thing, right? So if you go back to that slide one more time, let's assume that the first, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor here that moves through the slide, maybe not,
I think.
but the brand and the voice, let's say there's about 28 moments of interaction. Let's say A, the first time I ever saw your ad, B, they clicked on something, or they looked at your blog, or they looked at one of the video logs that went out. All these things start becoming little moments of interaction, right? And then they went to your landing page. You started noticing that this particular company or this personas are looking through some of your stuff. They've gone to the right department within the store, because that's what they are really keen on. And all those interactions need to be automated, because quickly the internal notifications need to go to the right sales team saying, oh, well, Emily came and looked at one of the ebooks and she downloaded it and she is the right buyer persona because she works in so and so. And a quick thank you email goes to Emily, and a quick email goes internally to your sales team saying, mate, Emily is perfect, very well lead scored. She's, can you please schedule a quick email to her and then follow up in a couple of days with a quick call, find out who it is. All these little things start making that conversion matrix totally different. Now, when you talk about structure, this is what structure looks like. If someone came to me and said, Sandeep, I've got 20, 30K, can you run something for the next 2 months? I wouldn't be able to do it in a structured way. I would say, oh, well, okay, let's see what you got. Okay, you got some database there, you know your clients, you want to run an event, and let's just do some ad-hoc stuff. And then all this cold tactics come in where, you know what, we end up burning more clients than actually winning many. So over a period of time, if you keep having multiple touch points, multiple email nurtures, multiple interactions, live events, video logs, get them to the landing page, get them to schedule a few things, make them to do the call to actions, right? And nurture them in a way that you're very timely in your response rate. That will make that initial piece absolutely spot on. And that's what we say is a structured marketing program. A 10 million pipeline is very simplified, saying, I mean, I would say, look, let's say north of 100K, that means you need about 100 leads a year. That's your 10 million pipeline, right?
Mm.
And let's say your conversion is, I don't know, 30%, 40%. That's about $4 million worth of closed pipeline, right? If you had to do the math. Now, what sort of 10 million pipeline do you need is where we need to be. It has to be hyper targeted. It has to be hyper personalized. It has to be account based driven. It cannot go after a wide audience and just see what sticks on the wall. It cannot have that attitude. And we have seen this over a period of time. I'm pretty sure a lot of users who are currently probably streaming through might come back with those questions and ask us if that's happening in their space.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think it's really important that we understand this foundation as well. It's great that we're making this a part series, just because I don't think we could cover everything and keep it engaging in one session. But that kind of leads me into the second part to our series. I just wondered if you could talk a bit to that execution. I know it's more about the program details and going to market.
Look, I would love to. What I would probably do is I would say, Nat, if you don't mind bringing slide number 5 back, please. I want to show a trick before I go.
Mhm.
And this is something that everyone on this call can probably work through. This defining the pain and pleasure and your audience and creating a story. This again on paper sounds very simplistic because say, oh, well, we know our story, we know everything. That's great. But when you start putting certain aspects of those storytelling into your practice, uh, it's totally different. So if you have figured out uh, this is what your business needs to be known as, and that's sure. And now defining an audience, that is where it becomes super tricky, and the most ignored part, which I was saying earlier. A lot of times defining an audience is saying, well, I want to go after financial services and I want to go after the top 10 banks or top four big four, and that's a bloodbath. Everyone is trying to fight out those banks and whatnot. But in my opinion, that's not your total addressable. That's not your ideal customer. Your ideal customer needs to be narrowed down towards a place where do you see the lowest hanging fruit, not just in terms of the size of the opportunity, but also the ease in how you can close that opportunity and have the highest profitability. There are a lot of accounts you don't want to sell into because it will be a lot higher to convert and takes a lot of cost and resources to convert them. And again, I'm not suggesting they're all going to be tire kickers, but you want to be able to have an audience where you can really add value to that business. So that defining moment comes down to your buyer persona mapping. Now, again, this is an actual 3-4 week scenario. We do a couple of workshops on this as well. So when we talk about this foundational thing, the reason I talk about it in a 6-week period is if I had to do this within 2 days, everyone's going to be brain dead because there is so much information that flies off. And a lot of times things get uncovered internally within the teams as saying, right, we have been talking about this, but we never put this in our messaging, or we never put this in our how we want to take it to market. So if you go to slide number 8 or 7, I think, Nat, um, yeah, if you put on slide 7. So the buyer persona map that we do it is very different. So we do it for every department. And now, if you remember, we talked about what are the top 2 or 3 key sales or solutions or practices that you really feel will drive 80% of the audience. We stick to those practices, and then we actually nail the buyer persona mapping. And any clients who have probably logged in, and I can name a few who might be listening into, but this is not an easy exercise. Um, it's quite detailed, only so because it gives us a lot of insights on what keywords that we should be having in our messaging, in our content, in our creative. So when we look at a buyer persona mapping, we don't say like, look, I want to go after the line of business, see, finance and IT and operations, and that's it. No, we go and try to find out a little bit more. We give them a name. We do actually get their demographics, their background, their technographics, understand what they know, how do they interact on social media. The last thing you want is someone, let's say they are off-site sort of a buyers personalities, or who are on the road all the time, and you're trying to run ads for them. That's not going to work because they're not on LinkedIn as much as you would like with other buyers. So you need to know what their behaviors are, their personality traits are, and what are their challenge statements. A lot of times we get clients to actually speak with their existing accounts and find out, is this true? Are these your common objections? Are these the challenges that you're going through? Can you give me some real quotes on what was the key defining moment where you decided to work with us? What was the main reason? What does that matrix look like? What motivates you? And then we start looking at those elevator pitches or bumper sticker messaging. And all of these little things make a buyer persona map. We then start looking at different keyword analysis on all the keywords that have been discussed and see how they're mapping on Google search or whatever we do. There are a lot of tools that we use for doing this. And then we come back and say, right, these are the keywords that people are searching for, and these are the people that we feel are, or keywords that people are having the challenges with. So it has to be challenge driven. We have to talk about them. We do not want to talk about us. First party voice is just pick it up and throw it in the bin. It doesn't work. You don't want to talk about who you are. It's not about how you want to sell. It's about how they want to buy. And if you went to Measurable Impact website, that's the first line that we have. We are trying to help you sell the way they want to buy, not how you want to sell. So I feel the buyer persona mapping becomes a ridiculously awesome exercise, um, and it actually gives you the vision for future. If you're able to map out this 3, 4, 5 buying committee, and that will help you for at least next 2, 3 years. That 1 week of effort gives you so much insights. It's not even funny. And we then use those keywords. If you go to slide number 8, I think, and then we go back and say, right, so for these buyer personas, let's play a game, right? The game is define pain and pleasure. And maybe, Emily, I'll put you on the spot here.
Sure.
Let's say your measurable impact, or if you're saying that you're a client of measurable impact, put a name of, not actual name, but put who are we working with. So if you are,
Let's say sunflower systems.
okay,
Make a new one up.
right? There might be one, you never know.
Yeah,
If
still
you
like
are
someone's brand.
so if you are a tech company, let's put it more generic,
Mhm.
who is struggling to find growth through marketing, then you need a structured marketing program, right?
Mm.
So we start putting those filling the blanks. So if you are, so this is a pain versus pleasure. So if you want to grow, is a pleasure statement. If you want to avoid something, that's a pain statement. So if you have just got hacked on your website, and if you are a CFO who is concerned about the security of your business, or CTO, whoever, or CISO for that matter, then you need to speak with us because we are a security company, so on and so forth. So there are a lot of ways we can do this, and we run this simple, fun exercise, and the responses that we get are absolutely hilarious, in a good way, by the way. So we get so many insights. We try to put them through and we start plug and play all that messaging aspect, which goes to slide number 9. A lot of slides. We never do so many slides, but unfortunately, I've got so many things to cover. Is where we start building the content framework. When we say, right now, we know what we want to say to, who we want to say to. We start creating a topic and start creating cluster topics around them. So how can we repurpose these topics into many different angles? What it is, how to make it work, what are the challenges, why do people struggle to use it, how can you help, how can you solve the problems, all those things, cluster topics on a particular pain point. That's what we want people to look and then come to our shop. And all of these things I can go into a lot more detail in part 2. This is where everything comes into life. We personify everything and we try to bring out the content and how we take to market. So if you looked at that empty shop, if you look at slide number 3, I think today we're talking about how to build that empty shop. Slide number 4 maybe. We're trying to build this. We want to build this place where we've got the right tech stack, we've got the right openings for people to come in. Those people can come in, they know what kind of different solutions you are, they can interact with your brand, they can check it out, they can all the call to actions, all the content pieces, all the pillar content pages, all the demos, whatever you have is ready. And then we start taking all those messages to market, and that's a different conversation.
Yeah, great. And I know we'll go more into detail about this in part 2. And just for everyone who's tuned in, if you want to be involved in part 2, we will be able to add you if you just put a comment in the bottom or even send a request on LinkedIn to Sandeep or I. And we've also got a page as well that you can go to learn a bit more about the program. And if you need a little bit of extra support or just want some guidance, we've always got our page. So that should be linked below. And you can find out more about the program and find part 2 as well and a recording of this session.
We've actually got the 10 million pipeline program page, which is on the chat. So more than happy. And look, if you guys have any questions, to be honest with you, I've just warmed up. There is so much more that we can talk about. I've just there's a ton of things that could be done with every business, and in my opinion, every business, however, whether they want to build a 10 million pipeline program or not, that's a different story. But these foundational things are absolutely, compulsory almost. You imperative. You need to do this, otherwise you wouldn't know where your business is going. It's very half-hearted. And yeah, we get a lot of good feedback on these kind of workshops.
Beautiful. Well, I think that's time, Sandeep. But we'll cover way more in the
Well,
next.
3 minutes. I'm actually quite happy with that.
Yeah, we didn't go over too much.
I think I would be 30 minutes over. And if you want to see if there is any comments on LinkedIn or whatnot, if there are any, or if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put them in our chat window. And if not, I'm pretty sure we will send you the next part 2, which will be coming soon. There's also another video marketing program that's coming up. We're calling the video marketing for a shy techie. So not everyone's shy, they're all geniuses. We just want to bring the best out of them. So there's some tricks and trades that we do to make it more fun. So we'll talk more about it in our next session.
Perfect. Very exciting. Thanks, Sandeep.
Thank
Thanks
you,
everyone
Emily.
for joining.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll
Bye.
talk soon.